Does your chuck ever get stuck? If so, I got a couple of tricks for you. The first trick is, we gotta hold this in the spindle in place. So if you've got a spindle lock that works great. Frankly, on this Laguna, my spindle lock does not work worth the darn. So I put a little wrench here on. I've got a spindle adapter back here that I'm going to hold this on. So I hold it in place like that. That will lock the. Hopefully that'll lock the spindle. So I'm trying to get this chuck loose off a spindle adapter because I'm using a 1 inch to a 1/4 inch spindle insert. So basically I lock this thing down. My spindle lock does not work on my Laguna, so I'm holding this thing in place with a wrench. And I'll show on the screen what kind of wrench that is. You can get them different places, including Amazon. They're not real good wrenches, but they seem to work fairly well for this application. So basically what you want to do is use some type of very stiff rod. A pry bar like this works well. You just get it in here and lock it down. If you happen to have an old Harbor Freight bar from a wood clamp, that can work. It needs to be fairly stiff. This will probably bend, but it might work a few times. Or if you got a piece of 1/4 inch or so steel, that'll work fine. You want something that will stick out far enough that you get a nice lever on it. Let me tighten this thing down. Well, I forget this Nova chuck. This Supernova 2 is the one that tends to cause me more efforts than anything else. Alright, so we get this in place. This one is not really stuck, but if it were like that, then you're going to take a wood mallet. I mean, you could use a plastic soft mallet, but hey, you ought to be making a mallet, right? If you don't have made one, I've got a link up here. And you just give this a sharp rap. You don't tap it, you smack it fairly forcefully, and that will break it loose. Now, a simpler approach for me, because it's very maybe chuck specific, on this Supernova 2, I have a small hole here that you put an Allen wrench in to tighten a grub screw against the insert, because this is not a direct threaded chuck. So I simply made me a little device with a 1/4 inch rod and a handle, and this goes right in here, and I could just pop it loose as long as I have some way of, securing the spindle. And this works very well. Now, you can get a 1/4 inch rod. Don't waste money on a high-speed steel rod, but the harder it is, the more it'll hold up. Otherwise, it might bend. I bought a piece of music wire, piano wire, same kind of wire I use on an awl, except this is a 1/4 inch size instead of 5/32. Just cut you off a little piece and make you a handle. Now, the biggest question then comes into why does it get stuck, and you should investigate that. You should investigate very carefully to see, do you have any kind of burr on the back side, in which case you might want to take a piece of 600 or so grit, put it on a cast iron bed, and maybe just stroke it a few times. If you can feel a burr, it may take a little more work than that, but it might be that may be all it takes. Now, some people advocate using these plastic washers like this. I'm not a big fan of these because they can deform, but it is a potential solution, and you can always make a little shim like this out of a milk carton. But again, I'm not a big fan of those, but they do work. Y'all stay safe. Come on back here.